Have you guys seen this new interview with Ashley Flowers and John Ramsey, the father of JonBenet Ramsey? This just came out. It is 3.5 hours long. If you can, watch it. If you don't want to spend 3.5 hours watching it, we will be breaking it all down here in smaller parts and concentrating on the biggest parts that stood out the most to us, and especially the information that was new that we had never heard before. We are going to make this a series. If you want to follow along, be sure to hit that follow button so you don't miss any of our updates. I'm going to start with the Fleet White information because it was the most jaw-dropping to me. And I'm going to try to talk as fast as I can because it is so much information to get through. For those that may not know, Fleet White was a really good friend to the Ramseys. The Ramseys were actually at the home of Fleet White the night that JonBenet got killed. And also Fleet White was the one who was with John Ramsey when he discovered JonBenet in the basement. All right, so let's get into this new stuff. We know that the Ramseys left Boulder right after JonBenet's murder and they went to Atlanta because that's where they're from. They took a company plane that John's employer, Lockheed, had sent for them, and Fleet White was supposed to be on this private flight with them to Atlanta. But Patsy said that he was acting really odd and off, and he ended up not getting on that plane with them. But she goes on to say that Fleet and his wife, Priscilla, did eventually make it to Atlanta and visited with them there, but they just took a different plane to get there. So the Ramseys were staying with a friend in Atlanta, and Fleet and Priscilla White were actually staying with Jeff Ramsey, who is the brother of John Ramsey. At some point during this stay in Atlanta, Jeff Ramsey calls John and Patsy while they're at their friend's house and states, "Hey, Fleet is completely losing his mind right now, and he is on his way over to see you guys. Do you guys have a gun in the home?" Patsy goes on to state that she stayed in the basement, and when Fleet arrived at the home, that John Ramsey and Patsy's father went upstairs to handle the situation with Fleet. When police asked her what was Fleet so upset about, she said that she didn't really know. So as a wife, how are you not asking your husband, what was that about? What was Fleet so upset about? She didn't, apparently. I'm going to read this part because I don't want to get it wrong. Then during the same visit to Atlanta, at one point, Priscilla White was in the living room with Patsy, just the two of them. And Priscilla says to Patsy, "If you give me a few minutes of your time, I can let you in on some things." Patsy turns to Priscilla and says, "I am the mother and I know nothing. How can you know so much?" When asked what Priscilla was referring to, again, Patsy says she never really knew what Priscilla was talking about. Again, what? How are you not asking these questions? Are you playing dumb? Did you really not ask these questions? That part blows my mind. So then there was even another instance where, so they're all back in Boulder at this point. John and Patsy had gone to their church to see their priest, and they were in the priest's office down on their knees praying with him. The door busts open. It's Fleet White. He's hysterical and he's waving around a business card and gets right down in John's face. And he keeps repeating, "You know what this is, John, and you know what this means, John. I'm going to have to handle this my way now, John." Patsy said that then Fleet sort of got in her face, shows her the business card, and it says it was a business card for a journalist. She didn't know who. On the back, there was a note that said something along the lines of, "Mr. White, there is a question as to whether you or Mr. Ramsey removed the tape from her mouth and the sequence of the basement discovery." Fleet tells them they are now after me and they are now after my family, and I'm going to have to handle it my way. What does this mean? Is Fleet White completely crazy, or are the Ramseys pointing fingers and trying to create a narrative that isn't there? I'm really trying to figure it out.